This is our last podcast before the schedule comes out.
It's always a big day. It's really one of the most fun days of the year.
Win, loss, loss, win, 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 loss.
I don't know. Week 7, I think they win.
You think they win week 7? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. How you doing?
Doing well. Doing great.
I feel like we haven't done this in a while. I think I got so used to the draft, like doing one every day.
Yeah, you get in that pattern like Super Bowl. We did one like 9 days in a row.
Yeah, then we wait like 2 days and oh man, I don't know how to do this anymore.
Seems like forever. Maybe we should just add like a weekend pod every week. Let's ask the listeners and viewers what you think.
A weekend pod?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Everything good? I know you hosted that, or you hosted? Is hosted the right word?
Yeah, I hosted
Music festival?
Sing Us Home Music Festival in Manayunk at Venice Island over the weekend, which was really one of the most amazing experiences of my life. 2 days, about 15 bands, drive-by truckers headlined who were amazing. A bunch of Philly bands, Catbite played, who were great punk ska band. Tisbury's from Philly. Crossed Keys from Philly, punk band. So it was a lot of fun. Sold out. We're going to do it again. Can't wait till next year.
That's cool. Maybe I'll have to come check it out next year.
Yeah, maybe we'll move it to Marlton.
That'd be nice for me.
Have you been to Manayunk? It's Manayunk.
Not in a while.
Yeah, it's a really nice area. They have this Venice Island. They have like an art center there, and we were outside in this big like field, and man, it was just, there was like food trucks, 3 breweries were there,
nice.
A tattoo artist. There was a roving.
You get tatted while you're there?
I didn't have a chance. I was too busy. But there was a roving New Orleans jazz, like between bands, they would go through the crowd and play like New Orleans stuff,
okay.
Horns and stuff, which was great. They were really good. The Ocean Avenue Stompers, Kathleen Edwards, Craig Finn from the Hold Steady played. Dave Hawes put it on. He played. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We have some football stuff.
Yeah.
Eagles had a rookie camp this past weekend, began on Friday. So we saw all those young guys out there on the field for the first time. Always a good sign. Not really football yet. No pads, and it's, stretching and going through some individual, but it's a good sight. It's the first sight of football since the end of the season.
Don't say.
Yeah, in a long time. So it was nice to see those guys. We have some notes from rookie camp that we'll get to. We want to look back at some of the draft picks in Eagles history where we were either really right or really wrong about them. And we have some other stuff to sprinkle in. But I think the biggest story, for me at least, from rookie camp was about Jalen Carter's fitness. And it's a story that predates his draft pick here, but it's something to keep an eye on because he was 9 pounds heavier at that pro day. And that's not the reason we think he dropped, but I think it was like that added to everything.
Didn't help. Yeah, no doubt. And it was interesting because Nick said, well, Nick actually said he cut practice short because nobody was in shape, which I don't believe. I mean, he's going to have practice as long as he's going to have practice. It's not going to be very long. I think he was just kind of protecting the kid. He wasn't going to say he's not in shape. So he just said, nobody's really in the shape that they're going to be in September. And that's true. But I also think Keely Ringo could probably go out there and get through a longer practice. So I think it was all kind of geared toward him. I don't think it's a huge concern. I think we've seen over the last couple of years that Ted Rath and his staff are going to get people ready. They're going to get them healthy. They're going to get them the starting line healthy. They're going to rehab whatever injuries they have. And they're going to give them a really good chance to get through the season healthy, which we saw last year. Jalen Carter has 4 months to get in shape, to lose a little weight, to understand what it means to have an NFL body and be able to maximize his potential. I'd be really surprised if he doesn't get to opening day where he needs to be. Now, it might be a process. It might take into the season to really get in shape, but 4 months this is his full-time job now. So, he doesn't have, he doesn't have classes. He doesn't have other obligations. It's all football. It's his job 24/7. They have all the facilities, all the support, all the the means to get him healthy, to get him fit. Whether it's the weight room, whatever it is. So I wouldn't worry about it now. If he gets to training camp and he's in a couple 2.5 months and he's not where he needs to be, it's a concern. But right now, I don't think it's a huge one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it is something to monitor. And it kind of feels reminiscent of talking about Jordan Davis last year. Obviously, Jordan's a little bigger, kind of plays a different position in a lot of ways. But that was a lot of talk with Jordan Davis. Like, is he going to be able to? And we looked at like his playing percentages at Georgia. Like, is he going to be able to do more in the NFL? And rookie year, I mean, he wasn't really asked to. Maybe that was going to start until he got hurt, and then it kind of derailed his season. But I don't think any of Jordan's struggles as a rookie, I don't think they were linked with any fitness issues.
I would agree with that.
Like, the injury is another case. And then I think there were some fitness issues, but that was through no fault of his own. He had a high ankle sprain and he couldn't be in as great a shape. But like, at least to start the season and early in the season, I don't think that was an issue.
Yeah, before the injury, I never sensed that his playing time is linked to his fitness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was linked to how many interior linemen they had
and the role.
And the role. And he never seemed gassed to me in the fourth quarter. I never sensed that. But, you know, Jalen Carter's a different person. They play a similar position and went to the same school. So you kind of, it's easy to lump them together. And, you know, the kid's got to want to do it. And, you know, he's a young guy, but I think that you realize when you get to this level, how much is at stake and, you know, just exactly what your responsibility is to the team. And, you know, that's a big lesson. And that's a big lesson that I'm sure Nick is explaining to these guys or has during this whole rookie thing. So, I would expect him to respond to that and get himself in the best shape he's ever been in.
Yeah, and look, we can explain away the pro day a little bit. He's going through a pretty tumultuous time in his life. He got arrested, like 2.5 weeks before that. It's already a stressful part of your life going through that pre-draft process, and then his, you know, kind of went really crazy for a while. So you can kind of explain it away, but because of that performance and because of the weight there, it is something that I think warrants keeping an eye on. And I don't think we're alone in that. I think the Eagles recognize that too. And
sure.
I think they're going to make sure they stay on top of him because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is, you know, he's got that facility for the next few months. He can, you know, you can go in there and lift and do cardio and, you know, learn from the trainers. And, you know, this is his only priority. He's got his contract out of the way. Mm-hmm. So this is what it's all about now for him.
It's got to feel great being 22 years old, signing a piece of paper that tells you, yeah, you're gonna make $20 million.
Yeah, yeah.
Not bad.
If you take care of business now, you start on the process of having a good career and getting that big second contract. Now, obviously, that's years away, but it's an important time for him. You know, that your rookie year is going to kind of set the tone for your career, and he's got to get. You know, he's got to get there. I think he will.
Yeah, and he's in a position where he has a chance to play really well as a rookie. He's on a really good team. He's playing with other really good players who are going to get attention. Yeah. So, yeah, if he's ready for this, I mean, he can be a starter. He can be playing 70% of the snaps, and he can push, 7 sacks? I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, I think 70 might be a little high.
Maybe.
I could see 60 to 65, but, yeah, we're just nitpicking there. But I think he'll have a big role. But he's got to be in shape to do it.
Yeah, I mean, so I went back and I looked up defensive tackles taken a top 10 in the last 10 years. The lowest percentage was Ed Oliver in 2019. He started 7 games, played in 16, 54%. So that's the lowest. Quinnen Williams in 13 games in 2019, he played a total of 57%. The highest, I couldn't believe this one, DeForest Buckner, 93% back in 2016. For the 49ers.
That might have been the most Ed Oliver ever played.
Yeah.
It might have been his high point, but that's a crazy number.
Yeah. I think 70 is reasonable.
That would be great. I think Eagles would be thrilled if he's.
Yeah. Now, obviously they have, you know, you're rotating with Fletcher and Milton Williams deserves a lot of snaps too. So maybe 70 is high just when you look at the rotation, but I think he could handle that.
Yeah. What's Fletcher going to be at? What was Fletcher at last year? He was over 60, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was 64, 65.
He's probably a little too high. I think that's going to go down.
Yeah.
I can see that being in a 50.
It's probably high for the Eagles in general, 70.
Yeah.
Because they really do like to rotate. But if he's at 60, I think you still feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Other rookie camp notes, I thought the most notable thing we saw from actual practice, was Tyler Steen getting his first reps at right guard.
Not surprising.
No.
Kinda,
And some of that has to do with like the other players they have at rookie camp, because you have the draft picks, you have the undrafted players, and you have a bunch of tryout guys, and you're just trying to like have enough bodies out there. But you put the guys that you draft that high where you think they fit.
right.
And seeing him at right guard was notable.
Yeah. And it's the first, I mean, where else would you put him? But
Tackle?
He was, I think it was clear from the moment they announced that they drafted guard Tyler Steen, it was clear where he was going to be. I don't think he's a tackle, but yeah, it's
well, it's like, I mean, he's only ever played tackle. I don't think it's crazy to think he could play tackle in the league.
Senior Bowl, his guard.
Yeah, but he played tackle at the Senior Bowl.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even give him any reps of tackle in camp. So it's just focus on guard, focus on right guard.
No, that makes sense because that's where he has the most room for growth.
Yeah, I would think that would just be an emergency as a tackle. But we'll see. I think they like to kind of, with rookies, you come in, you just try to really master one position. And, maybe right guard, left guard, but I don't see him taking reps at left guard. Maybe he will, but he could very well be the starting right guard next year.
He could. That's one of the most fun position battles is that right guard, him and Cam Jurgens, presumably. Last year, I think about last season and how unique it was that they had a backup left guard, left tackle, backup right guard, right tackle. Yeah. I've never covered a team that did that before. It was kind of unique because they had Andre Dillard, who was the left side, and Jack Driscoll, who was the right side. Curious to see what they do with their backup spots this year. Are they going to say, we want Tyler Steen to back up both guard spots? We want Jack Driscoll to now become a swing tackle? Or will they say, well, maybe they can kind of be on sides? I don't know. Because Steen has played on both sides of the line. He hasn't played guard in a game yet, but he played left tackle and right tackle in college.
Yeah, and I feel like you could put Driscoll anywhere and he'll give you honest effort. So I would expect it would be different than last year. I would think. I mean, because last year, a big part of that was just that Dillard, you just didn't want him at right tackle. And he was starting to get guard reps, but I don't think he was really in the picture. So I would think it might be more open. We'll see.
I don't know, though, for sure, because we've seen Driscoll play so much at guard.
Yeah.
It's one of those things when you have a guy who's that versatile and it's like, well, where's he best? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think he's just a good, solid, functional backup at any of those spots.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Steen, but you're right. I mean, and right guard is, you want to get him the reps in case he has to play there.
Yeah.
And it goes, and like we mentioned before, it kind of goes beyond winning the starting job. It goes to, well, if Kelsey ever goes down and Jurgens is your starting right guard, guess what?
Right.
You got to move Jurgens, and then you need someone to replace him. And Kelsey's been pretty durable, but he is 35, so you have to plan for that.
Yeah, and I think it just makes sense to let rookies focus on one thing, not get cluttered, not throw too much at them, at least at the start through this camp and OTAs and even into training camp. And if a guy shows he can handle it and he's comfortable, maybe you give him a couple other things. But
yeah, well, I mean, last year the plan was to cross-train Cam Jurgens at center and guard during camp, and then obviously Kelsey had that elbow clean out, and he never got to do that. He had to be the first team center. So at least like last year, they showed they had a plan for a high offensive lineman that cross-trained pretty early. Yeah. Other stuff, talked to Nolan Smith. It was pretty cool to see how excited he is to get a chance to meet up with Hassan Reddick and pick his brain. The comparisons are unavoidable. They were unavoidable in the draft process. And I think you can learn a lot from Hassan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, similar body type, similar game. To have a resource like that, to be able to watch every day, he's going to ask him questions. And knowing Hassan, I mean, he'll be more than generous with his time and his knowledge bank. I just think that's so big for this kid.
Yeah. And I always, whenever we talk about an older player training a guy who could become his replacement, a lot of times you see people like, why would he do that? Why would he? Like, it's kind of just the way it is. It's like, if you're Hassan Reddick, like, you know how the business works. You've seen enough of Hassan Reddick in your short time in the league. Like, you know that, things can go sideways, but it's part of the deal. And you're not going to be a bad teammate. And it's not like you're going to tell them everything. And it's not like you're even trying to help them take your job, but you're on a team. And if you can make the team more successful, it's kind of expected of you in a way. And you don't have to go above and beyond, but you're not going to like shun the kid.
Yeah. And there are players that do that. I probably told this story before, but Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepard's rookie mini camp, I needed to talk to them, and Troy Vincent was talking to them in the locker room for like an hour. And he finally let them go. I didn't even have time to do the interviews because the locker room was closing. And I went up to Troy and I was like, who might be our next commissioner, by the way. I said, what were you talking to them about? It was very intense. He said, I was handing them down the keys to the kingdom, which I love that phrase. And he was just saying, just telling them about, surrounding themselves with people you trust, be smart with your money, don't buy, don't overspend for property or houses or whatever, cars, just kind of sharing all the knowledge that, he talked about the guys when he was a young player with the Dolphins who taught him, like Lewis Oliver and stuff like that, and just sitting them down and saying, and then, both those guys obviously had long careers, and then they passed it down to the young guys when they were older. And yeah, why do you do it? Because it's the right thing to do. And Troy's thing was, whatever helps our team, I want to do that. And if I get hurt and one of these guys has to play, I want them to be ready. So you can't, look, and we've all heard horror stories like, Brett Favre saying, I'm not Aaron Rodgers' coach. I'm not coaching him. And there's guys who are going to be like that, who are maybe, and I get that. I get the pull of that, but you do what's best for the team. It's the right thing to do. That's the only reason you do it.
Yeah. Nolan Smith also mentioned Jeremiah Washburn by name.
He did.
Jeremiah Washburn is a guy we probably don't talk about enough because he's had so many different hats here, but he is now the coach of the edge players. His players really seem to respond to him.
And if you want to read more about him, I talked to him the last availability in Arizona Super Bowl week, and I wrote a story about him. And I think I talked to Sweaty and another edge rusher, I don't remember who, about him. He's a really interesting guy. And yeah, he's been in scouting. He's been all over the board, but I think he's really valued in the organization. The players love him. The players really speak highly of him. And I think he'll be great for Nolan. And yeah, Nolan spoke. He spoke really highly just about what he's learned already from him. And we're just getting started here, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, guys just want to get better, and Jeremiah has now proven that he'll get edge players better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. 70 sacks, most of them were from the edge, not all of them. I think your first position coach is so important for a rookie. Have a good relationship with them, and just have be able to listen to them and don't think you have all the answers. And we've heard horror stories about guys who come in and their first coach just doesn't know what he's doing, and it can get out of control really quickly. I think this team seems to have pretty solid position coaches.
I don't know if I've told you this story yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on the pod. I was at the combine and I was talking to a few agents who had defensive linemen at the combine, and the coach they all said they loved was the most fun was Tracy Rocker.
Really?
Which is really funny because he does not have that public persona.
No,
he's like
a
very quiet guy. And all these agents I was talking to were mentioning like, yeah, our guys love Tracy Rocker. They thought he was like super fun, but like putting them through the right things and teaching them while he was doing those. He was like putting, how they have some select coaches put guys through combine drills. And he was the guy that a lot of them said they really liked.
That's surprising,
isn't it? Yeah, and I made sure because he doesn't have like he's very quiet in the media. He's been around for so long, he probably doesn't feel the need to do that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
He's an interesting guy, and I actually did a story on him last year. They wouldn't let me talk to him, but I talked to a bunch of his guys about him, Fletch and Milton. Man, they spoke so highly of him. Interesting career because he was an incredible college player and then really didn't have much of an NFL career at all and went into coaching. And he was like a huge disappointment as a player, which is an interesting perspective to become a coach. And so those guys love him. There's just, I think a really underrated part of last year and getting to the Super Bowl was the position coaches on this team. And look, there's some different ones this year, but I think last year's were really, really good. Yeah. And most of them are back. And
it trickles down from Sirianni, who has the teaching background. I think that's what he was looking for in his coaches, was guys who are teachers, guys who are going to develop everyone at every level. And I think you're right. I think we saw a lot of that pay off.
Yeah.
Other rookie camp notes. Talked to Moro Ojomo for the first time. Interesting guy.
Yeah.
We got to stop using the word interesting. It's not an interesting word.
Fascinating. Intriguing.
Young player, 21 years old.
Youngest guy on the team by 4.5 months.
He's actually not. He's
there could be an undrafted.
Well, Keely Ringo's 20.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I have to fix my story then.
I fixed it.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
The roster's wrong on their website.
So I know what happened. I meant to tell you this before we started the pod. I didn't mean to bring it up here. So he's when you sort it, Keely Ringo is unsigned, so he's in a different category.
Oh, so he didn't.
So he's below. So gotcha. He's 20, and Eli Ricks is technically a couple months younger as well. But Ojomo was very young, and the crazy.
Well, thanks for pointing out my error to our thousands of listeners.
Well, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to tell you before, and I forgot. But
in your Nolan Smith story,
but the fascinating thing though is he has 5 years in college, and he's still 21 because he got there so early. So like you'll see young prospects, but they don't have the experience that he has for being as young as he is.
Yeah, 5 years, and to be that young, he told the story. He was 3 when he started kindergarten in Lagos, and just kind of stayed on that track throughout when he moved to California when he was 8, and just kind of stayed. So he was just younger than every grade throughout, and then graduated high school and started in college. He was really nonplussed talking about it. He's like, it's just younger, not a big deal.
To the rest of us, it's like, imagine being 16.
I know.
Not just at like a small school, Texas.
Yeah, and not just like studying English lit, but playing football.
Yeah.
Against guys who are 5 years older. I mean, that's
grown men.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I was saying if they played Baylor, he might have been playing somebody 10 years older than him.
Anyone in mind?
No, nobody in particular.
Yeah. That was fun.
Interesting guy, very confident.
It was fun to talk to him. Yeah, very confident. I wonder, and I guess he can't really remove himself from the circumstances. Like that's just what he knows. He went to college young. He's always been younger than his peers. Yeah. But I wonder how much that has informed who he is. I think would have to.
I would think so. He even mentioned something like, my parents really prepared me for it.
Mm-hmm.
He was raised the right way, you could tell.
Yeah. Talk to Sidney Brown, who's going to become, if he can play, he's going to be a fan favorite.
Yeah.
We think he can play. The Eagles think he can play. Yeah. Very polished, very passionate.
He reminds me of Kurt Coleman, the way he comes across. Just the way he speaks and presents himself. And Kurt was a 7.
It's really funny. You weren't here the other day. I was talking to Mike Mulhern, our Birds Huddle producer. We were trying to guess previous Eagles who might have been Red Star Eagles, and he was a name I came up with, Kurt Coleman.
Yeah.
Because they say they happen in every round. It's not necessarily about just talent level. And he was limited as an athlete.
Sure.
But he had all the other stuff you'd want.
Yeah. That's a good guess. What year was he drafted, though?
I don't know.
He might have been before. Yeah. He was he was Howie's first draft, 2010.
2010.
Played 10 years in the league, 21 interceptions as a 7th round pick, 2 more in the playoffs. He was on some good teams. He was in the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
I really admire him. Ohio kid, so like this. What else you got? Any other rookie camp notes?
Tyler Steen, my favorite thing in the world is asking new offensive linemen about Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah.
I love it. There's nothing better because they don't know how to answer it because they're like, yeah, he's kind of crazy, but I think I like him. And that's basically what Tyler Steen said. very loose paraphrase there. But he said he's like a different guy, different coach, but he appreciates him. And yeah, listen to that guy. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
and you're not here as an offensive lineman if Jeff Stoutland didn't want you here.
Right. And then, I mean, Lane and Kelsey talk about him the same way. Like, he's a little crazy, but yeah.
I mean, everyone does. The GM does.
He is a little crazy.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
It's good crazy.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think that's just about all the notes. We talked to Tanner McKee as well. He's in a weird spot.
Yeah.
Just because he's fighting for the third job. I don't know how many reps he's going to get. Well, we'll see. There are some things I like about him. He's big. He's a big dude. Seeing him in person,
6'6".
Yeah, he's every bit of it, man. He's tall.
Can't wait to see him throw the ball because he can't move around, but he's got a rocket arm.
Does, and I'm curious to see how it looks against very other types of quarterbacks in camp, right? Like Jalen's obviously a good pocket passer, but he will run around a little bit in practice. Like Mariota, we haven't seen yet, but I think it's going to look awfully different than Tanner McKee.
Yeah.
Right. And even Ian Book, who is like 6 foot.
Yeah.
That's going to look different. So Tanner McKee is kind of an outlier in this group of quarterbacks.
What did Ian Book? Was he here in camp last year, or did he come later? He was here in camp, right?
No.
When they cut Carson Strong, they
had
they claimed him.
Oh, who was the third stringer? Who got here the year before from the Dolphins?
Oh, Marino. I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh man, this is going to drive me nuts.
I'm gonna have to look it up because this stuff.
The funniest thing is I know people are, yelling at Reed Sinnett.
Yeah, Reed Sinnett.
Yeah, Reed Sinnett was here in camp last year, and then they think they upgraded and got Ian Book.
I think they did. I think they upgraded, even though we've never seen.
Yeah, how do you know that?
Just because I saw Reed Sinnett.
Okay, grass isn't always green, but yeah, that's what happened. It was Reed Sinnett last year.
Yeah. Anyway,
we thought this would be fun because every year in the draft we're like, I think that's a really good pick. I think it's a bad pick, and we have no idea. And then we look back at it and kind of laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
So we figured we would each come up with one Eagles player that they drafted who was way worse than we thought, and one player that ended up being way better. And
guys, we were wrong about.
Yeah, either one way or the other. And mine are more recent, I'm guessing, than yours are. It's not a knock.
Yes.
But I figured we'll start with the guys who ended up being worse than we expected.
Okay.
Who do you have?
In 1990, the Eagles drafted Fred Barnett, who became a really good player in the third round. 2,000-yard seasons, one Pro Bowl, and Calvin Williams, who was a solid starter in the fifth round. But the first receiver they drafted that year was a guy named Mike Bellamy out of Illinois. He was the 50th pick overall. He was the third wide receiver taken behind Alexander Wright and a guy named Reggie Rembert, who was terrible. But neither one was ever very good. But it was not a good year for receivers in the first couple rounds. Ricky Proehl went in the third round. So Mike Bellamy,
his son, by the way, was at Eagles rookie camp.
Yeah,
as a tryout player.
I saw that.
He's been bouncing around for a while now. He's like 26,
New
27.
Jersey guy, right?
Yeah.
Hillsborough,
Austin Proehl.
Yeah, but Mike Bellamy never caught a pass. And the thing about Mike Bellamy was he was so much more polished than Calvin and Freddie. He was he had been a really big time player at Illinois, smooth, good hands, but so much more goes into being a pro than just having the talent. He had good size, but there was just something just never clicked for him. He never, whether it was putting in the work, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it was clear from the first practice that Freddie and Calvin were ahead of him, and he never caught up. Yeah, I was dead wrong about Mike Bellamy.
I'll give you one.
I think he might come back and have a good year.
A recent one for me, Sidney Jones.
Yeah,
I was so on board with that pick.
Yeah.
Because I loved the player. I thought he was arguably the best corner in that draft, and it was a good corner draft. So to get him in the second round, not an extensive injury history. It was only that Achilles.
And he was 20.
He was a young player. He was really young. I thought, man, this is going to work out. The Eagles got to steal. They're going to have this corner for the next decade. And we all know how it worked out. It always makes you wonder, was it just the Achilles? I know that when he was here, there was always talk about was he mentally tough enough, and that was coming from inside the
From Malcolm
organization. Yeah, and I don't know like what led to one. Like, would he have been a more confident, tougher player had he not gone through that experience? I don't know. I just know I thought he was really talented before that injury, and I thought the Eagles stole one, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I really liked the pick. I just thought it made sense. You could have this guy rehab for a year and then be a starter at 22. And, you lost a year, but the redshirt year, you get him healthy, just never happened. He's still bouncing around.
Yeah.
Still in the league.
Get a pension.
Yeah, he'll get a pension, but he was just never became the guy we expected.
Let me give you the flip one.
I still think it was. I still thought it was a good pick. I think that Achilles, he just never got his speed back.
Yeah,
just could never run like he.
Yeah, which is why. So on the flip side of it, a couple years later, the Eagles are in a second round, and they draft Landon Dickerson. I didn't like it. I didn't like the risk, and we knew that he was good. And I just didn't have the confidence that he would be able to stay healthy because it wasn't just one injury.
Yeah.
In college, it was a bunch of injuries, and he was coming off an ACL. So I didn't think the risk was worth it there. And like the Eagles knew there was risk. They love the upside, and I got the upside. And I was wrong because he's stayed healthy. He's become a really good player, and he looks like he's a cornerstone piece for the franchise.
Really does. And I remember asking Howie. Somebody asked Howie after the pick and about the comparison with Sidney, and he said, if he has had a lot of injuries, but like if you're a corner and you lose half a step, you're not very good. If you're an interior lineman and you lose half a step, you can still play at a really high level. I'm not saying he lost half a step. He looks like he was never hurt, but I think you kind of factor in the injuries for a corner differently than a guard.
Yeah, it was just the accumulation of them.
Sure.
It scared the heck out of me.
Absolutely. Me too.
It worked out pretty well for them.
Hell of a pick.
Yeah, it's one of those swings, and they hit.
I went with, surprisingly, a guy from the 80s, Keith Jackson. When they picked him, he was the 13th, 16th pick he was the 13th pick in the 88 draft, tight end. And, back then there was no internet. I don't think there wasn't a lot of Big 8 games on TV. All I saw was that he had caught 13 passes as a senior. He only caught 65 passes his whole career. In college, I'm like, they just drafted a guy in the first half of the first round who can't catch the football. I didn't realize at the time he had averaged 27.5 yards a catch as a senior, 27.6 as a junior, 25.7 as a sophomore, 15 touchdowns, and that Oklahoma never, ever, ever threw the ball. They were just an old-fashioned Big 8, run the ball 40 times a game, and they didn't have a high-powered passing attack. Once in a while, Keith Jackson would catch the ball, and he'd run 30 yards with it. So they drafted him 13th, and I'm like, what a waste. This guy can't even catch the football. Rookie year, and this remains an NFL record for rookie tight ends, 81 catches, 869 yards, 6 touchdowns, first-team All-Pro as a rookie. One of only 2 rookies in Eagles history to make first-team All-Pro, and the other one was Charlie Young, another tight end. It was a first-round pick in 73.
Spells his name with no I.
Charle. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah. Either he spells his name weird or Pro Football Reference got it wrong 50 years ago. But, it was the same draft they got, I believe, Jerry Sizemore. There's only 3 times they've had 2 first-round picks since the early 70s. This year, 93 and 73. They all did 3.
What does it mean?
So Charlie Young and Keith Jackson are the only tight ends to ever be first-team All-Pros, rookies as well. And he was an All-Pro his first 3 years, first team. Incredible player. And he had some injuries later in his career. And obviously he was the guy that sued for free agency. He was like the Kurt Flood of the NFL that paved the way for what we have now. And first it was Plan B free agency, and then he was a real. I'll tell you, every rich player in the NFL should thank Keith Jackson. I think he's a broadcaster now, somewhere down in the. I think think he does Arkansas games actually on the radio, which is weird. But he only played 4 years here, 3 Pro Bowls, 3 All Pros. You know, he was doing Zach Ertz things before Zach Ertz. Incredible player. I was so wrong about him. It's not even funny.
It happens. Happens plenty of the NFL teams and guys who get paid to do it too. So don't feel too bad about it.
I don't. His last year, he caught 10 touchdowns. He had a short career, only played 9 years, caught 10 touchdowns his last year at 31. Hung him up.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Reuben, Nick Foles got cut. Think it's the end for him?
Yeah, I kind of hope so. I mean, he deserves the right to, if he wants to keep playing and can find a team, go for it. But I kind of hope so.
I don't want to hope for that. I want him to do whatever he wants to do.
No, I hear you, and I get that. I don't think he's tarnishing his legacy. I don't know what his legacy is other than, like, you can't tarnish being the greatest, having the greatest single day in Eagles history.
Yeah.
And beating the greatest of all time. But I don't know if there's a team for him anymore. It's incredible to think since the Super Bowl, he's won 8 games. I mean, it was 6 years ago. And 4 of them were the next year with the Eagles in 18, and a playoff game, double doink. He's bounced around. He's played for the Eagles twice, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Jaguars, the Bears, the Colts. Anyone else?
I think you got him.
And one of the strangest careers we've ever seen, because there's 2013 too, which 27 touchdowns, 2 picks, unbelievable season, 119 passer rating, was one of the highest in history. He was incredible that year. Left the field playoff game with the lead at home, and then he bounces around. They bring him back to back up Carson. Everything in 17. It's just one of the greatest runs we've ever seen. I mean, that Super Bowl's on like NFL films. You see it like all the time. And it's just the throws he was making in that game. I mean, they defy belief. He caught a touchdown, the greatest. I mean, he's won 8 games since then. It's like, how is that even possible? Since he got since he got hurt in the middle of 14, got replaced by, I think they were 6-2 when he got hurt in the middle of the 14 season. Mark Sanchez replaced him. He's won 14 games. That was 9 years ago. But on that day, and really for those 3 or 4 weeks, I mean, it was magical. It's just one of the strangest stories ever. I mean, his career record away from the Eagles is like, he's like, hasn't done anything. I mean, he never even won a game in Jacksonville, where, he never won a game. And so it's a crazy career. He's made $90 million. He's got a young family. He's got other interests. He wants to go into the ministry. Great guy. One of my favorite guys. I don't see a team out there. I'm not sure there's any options left for him. I want him to go out on his own terms. But I would guess he's gonna hang it up.
Yeah, it's tough to find a landing spot. He's already been with Andy. He's been with Frank. Doug's in Jacksonville, so
can't bring him back to Jacksonville.
Can't do that. I wouldn't think. Yeah, so it's not a lot of options.
Yeah,
one of our favorites though. Good dude. Last thing we have here, rookies got their jersey numbers. So want to just go through. I know you're not big on jersey number analytics, but it is fun to going through and like hearing a number and like who comes to mind.
Yeah.
So
I like that though. Yeah.
Yeah. We're tailoring this to what you like.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the way every pod should be.
Jalen Carter gets 98.
On Thursday, we'll be going through we'll each be doing our top 100 guided by voices songs. So.
Gosh, Jalen Carter 98 makes sense that to get that number 88 not available here. That's the number he wore in college. I like it. First off, first player that comes to mind for me is Mike Patterson.
Not Robert Quinn.
Not Robert Quinn. I mean, the easier answer honestly would be Connor Barwin, who Ward and played really, really well. But for whatever reason, Connor's not what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, same here. Mike Patterson. He wore a long time, played a long time here. I still think of him rumbling 98 yards for a touchdown in Candlestick Park on a fumble recovery against the 49ers. 98 for me is Mike Patterson. You'll notice a pattern with these. Every number, I go like way back as far as possible. That's the way I'm wired. When I see a number, I think of the first guy I really ever saw wearing it.
Sure. Hassan Ridgway, Bruce Hector, Elijah Qualls have worn it in the interim between Barwin and Quinn. So some good success there and some not so great. Nolan Smith, number 3.
I like that.
Okay, we're doing so. You get into this
I like
now.
3 on an edge rusher.
I do too, and it's fun with Reddick on the other side wearing 7.
Yeah, it's the lowest combined jersey total ever by 2 edge rushers, I guess.
It probably is.
Have to have a 6 and a 2.
I would think.
Who was your 3 that came to mind?
For me, it was Steven Nelson. I didn't really have a
For me, it was Sanchez.
Okay, yeah.
Zach Pascal wore it last year, right?
Last year, Zach Pascal. Didn't want to just go back to that. Kafka wore it for a couple years. Mark Sanchez wore it.
Todd France, the emergency kicker, when Akers got hurt.
2005. Yeah, hasn't been a super used number. I mean, one of the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just the 13th player to wear number 3 in Eagles history.
Wow.
Yeah. Tyler Steen, 56.
Yeah, that's Byron Evans without any hesitation for me.
I think that's a decent number for an offensive.
I think of it as a linebacker number. I mean, Sam Olive wore it, right? But
Sam Olive wore it last year.
Mike Caldwell. Now that I think Mike Caldwell wore it for a long time here. Chris Long wore it, right?
Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind for me. Chris Long wearing it. So, but there's some others like Philip Hunt, Akeem Jordan, Sean Barber.
Sean Barber, 56.
Yeah. Mike Caldwell.
A lot of, like I say,
a
lot of good linebackers.
Jerry Robinson, who is our favorite answer to a trivia question
comes up every year in April.
Yeah. Next one, Sidney Brown, 43.
No brainer for me, Roynell Young.
Okay. Yeah. I actually go Leonard Weaver on this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
See, my alternate would be Damon Moore.
Okay.
Who had that great postseason in 01.
Yeah, Sproulsy, obviously.
Kaiser last year.
Sproles for.
I don't even think of Kaiser. I think of Roynell 40 years ago.
I don't love 43 for safety.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's a rough number.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a Palomalu thing, which
could be.
I'll allow. One of the best to ever do it. But
we'll have to look into that.
Other than that, it's
to me, 43 is a safety number.
Okay.
Who's the last corner? Yeah, I don't mind it.
Okay. Keely Ringo. Did my man Keely Ringo dirty here. 37.
You don't like 37?
No, that's gross.
Mac McCain. The guy that comes to mind for me was Sean Considine.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little after that. I go Jalen Watkins.
You don't go Graylin Arnold?
I don't go Graylin. Honestly, situated. The one that did come to mind first, and I don't know why, was Trey Sullivan, but I was like, I can't say Trey Sullivan.
You just did.
I know. No, I say Jalen Watkins.
All right.
Yeah. But it's funny. Like Trey Sullivan popped in my head first, and I don't know why. Next one, Tanner McKee, 10, safe number for a quarterback.
I mean, I probably should say Deshaun came to my mind first, but it wasn't. It was John Telchik. He was the Eagles punter in the late 80s. And I have a great story about him. I can't tell on the pod. But you know who wore number 10? Well, Minshew was Minshew the last to wear it?
Yeah.
Obviously, Deshaun's the main guy, but Tommy Thompson, who was the Eagles quarterback when they won the NFL championship in 48 and 49. He wore 10.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was Deshaun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty easy one. And then last one, Ojomo, 72.
Well, I feel bad, and I apologize to Trey Thomas, but the guy that came to mind for me was Dave Alexander, who was the Eagles center for a good 7 or 8 years in the late 80s, early 90s. Dave Alexander was 72. Yeah.
See, for me, it was when I started. It wasn't Linval.
Big V.
It was Cedric Thornton.
Really?
Yeah, because he was on the team when I started covering the team.
Okay.
So it just that stuck. Obviously, I watched a lot of Trey, so that would be the second one. Probably Big V after that.
I'm just going to give you. Let's throw out a couple of the free agents.
Okay.
And tell me who you think of. Rashad Penny's 23. You have a 23?
It's Rodney.
See, for me, it's Troy Vincent.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. But the guy who wore it last year had 6 interceptions. Neither of us thinks of of him. Terrell Edmonds, 26.
Lito.
Yeah, Lito for me as well. Not the Pro Bowl running back from last year.
Yeah, it's Lito.
Let's do one more. How about 38? Greedy Williams is 38.
It's weird. Kenyon Barner.
Is it Michael Jacquet? For me, it's Cecil Martin, who's the fullback.
Okay.
How about 30? One more. 30. Justin Evans is 30.
Corey
Clement, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's Charlie Garner.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I probably should say Charlie Gardner because that was like my my young days, like formative years. Yeah.
No, not the guy that had 100 receiving yards and 2 miracle catches in a Super Bowl as a undrafted rookie running back. No, a guy was here 25 years ago and was always hurt.
That's the way those things go.
That's great. That's fun.
All right. We good here?
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up. Next time we talk to you guys, the schedule will be out. Should be a lot of fun. We always love that podcast specifically. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. That's it for Reuben. I'm Dave. We will talk to you soon.